afternoon to you, our viewers watching from St. Lucia and our St. Lucians watching from abroad. We continue with coverage of St. Lucia under this COVID-19 situation with now a virtual press conference of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force this afternoon. My name is Jessie Leonce. I'm joined in studio by my colleague Carlton Cyril, and this afternoon we have Corporal and Joseph, as well as the Commissioner Milton Desir in studio as well to give us updates as usual on law enforcement efforts, particularly under this COVID-19 curfew. Good day, Corporal Joseph.
Good day, Jessie. Good day, Mr. Carlton. How are you guys?
Very good, thank you.
Thanks, well.
Definitely an active week for the Royal St. Lucia Police Force.
Most definitely, we have quite a few things that we need to update the public in relation to. Is it okay if I proceed?
Sure.
Okay. So as you know, we no longer have the checkpoints in Canneries and Dennery, but we do have an update for the last week where we were functioning as the border control of sorts. In the Canneries checkpoint, we had a total of 1,899 vehicles being processed from the 5th of May to date, and Dennery, a total of 8,685 vehicles being processed. During that week across the island, we had 13 individuals being arrested and charged for curfew-related violations. So that is all in relation to the curfew order that we can report on for now, but we have other incidents that we want to update the public on. One of them was the union confrontation, which occurred on Wednesday, the 6th of May 2020, where the officers attached to the Criminal Investigations Department were referred a report of a confrontation involving police responders at a location in Union. Following that incident, there were several videos that were in circulation portraying what transpired. We can now report that following the incident, one male identified as Simon Lubin of Leslie and Castries was formally charged for insulting words, 2 counts of threats, and 2 violations of the curfew order. 5 other males were also charged for violations of the curfew order in relation to that incident. In the past week, we observed that there were several incidents of violence reported in the Dennery area, and we're just going to update you guys in relation to that. About 2:45 p.m. on Sunday, the 10th of May 2020, officers attached to the Dennery Police Station responded to a report at Green Mountain in Dennery. According to the information relayed to officers, a male had been attacked by 2 known suspects with bricks and rendered him unconscious. The victim was conveyed to a medical facility for treatment. He is currently in stable condition. The suspects we can say have been charged as follows. Kieran Matthew, alias Pitbull of Victoria Street, Dennery, and Ike James, alias Parrot of High Street, Dennery, have both been charged for the offense of non-capital attempted murder and damage to property. It was later reported to the police about 6:30 p.m. on the same 10th of May 2020 that the brother of the first victim was assaulted with a cutlass in the village. Ike James has been charged for the offense of wounding in connection to that second incident.
Okay.
On the 12th of May 2020, the Dennery Police Station also received a report of a shooting. It occurred about 2:30 p.m. at Over the Bridge in Dennery. A male was shot in the shoulder. We can say that one individual is currently in police custody in relation to that incident. Police officers are investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of a 31-year-old resident of Lapwet, Dennery. His name is Darnell Joseph. The report came through about 9:50 a.m. on Thursday, the 14th of May, 2020. The incident took place on the Dennery fishing port, and the victim sustained an apparent gunshot wound to the head. A post-mortem examination has been conducted today, Monday, the 18th of May 2020, and it revealed that he died from traumatic brain injury due to a gunshot wound to the head. Leaving the Dennery area, there's also another incident of interest that we wish to update the public in relation to. On the 15th of May 2020, a male baby was located in Boapatat. Investigations had been launched to identify the parents of that baby, and information was referred to the police on various possible individuals who may have been the father and mother of that baby. The officers received a recording alleging that a female minor had been abused by a male relative and had born said child. On Saturday, the 16th of May 2020, the officers attached to the vulnerable persons team interviewed a 16-year-old female in relation to that allegation. That female, we can say conclusively, is actually the sole child of her parents. There is no sibling to report on. Investigations into the allegation of a second minor living with that first individual was also conducted, and we can say that the individual who lives with the 16-year-old is actually a 21-year-old female, and we can confirm that she is currently pregnant. Investigations into that matter are continuing. And that's it for now.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Corporal and Joseph. We really do appreciate these very important updates. We've been hearing about these reports, these cases circulating on social media, and finally we've heard confirmation. We've gotten confirmation from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. We do want to let our viewers know, do stay tuned. We're due for a break right now. When we come back, we hear from the Commissioner of Commissioner Milton Desir. Do stay tuned for that sit down in just a moment.
Virus ready to harm us. Panic is not the answer. We can win this together. Often use hand sanitizer. Better yet, use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. A soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are up. No, no.
Advice is you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Thank you so very much for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, a special welcome to you. This is the afternoon edition of the COVID-19 Response Report. As usual, we have our weekly sit-down with the Royal St. Lucia Police Force representatives, Commissioner Milton Desir and Corporal Ann Joseph. We've just spoken to Corporal Joseph. She gave us an outline, just a list of the law enforcement operations in the last week. We got information on the borders that we once had and no longer having. The zoning has ceased effective today, 18th May 2020. But up till May 5th, we had 1,899 vehicles being checked at the Canaries checkpoint and 8,685 vehicles being checked at the Dennery checkpoint, and 13 arrested and charged in the last week for curfew-related violations. Also important to mention are the surge in serious, the surges in serious crimes on island. In studio with us, as mentioned, Commissioner Milton Desir. A special good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, listeners. Yes.
I want to start with the surge in serious crimes. Can you just tell us about the response of the force to this, as well as the implications it has for law enforcement capacity operations right now amid our COVID-19 focus?
Yes. Actually, since the raise or the ban on the liquor suspension, we have seen some activities that are not regular, and I cannot at this point say that it is as a result of the liquor ban being raised. However, it is evident that from that day, especially the Sunday of that weekend, we realized that some persons were behaving in a manner that was not conducive to law abiding. And what we have done, especially in the Dennery area, we realized that there was an upsurge in quarrels, crimes being committed, violence, and so on. So what we did, we had to augment the resources down at Dennery. A team of officers, a team of SSU officers were placed at Dennery over the weekend, and this team shall remain until we determine that persons have understood themselves. And these officers would be patrolling the various areas in Dennery, the Daito, the area, and all other places that may have persons congregating to ensure that the curfew is not broken. I want to inform persons that in as much as the zones would be open for access by vehicles, the curfew is still in place. And if you do not have a pass or a permission, you cannot traverse, especially at the point of the curfew, because we would have officers in place checking on vehicles that are not observing the curfew laws. On the new SI, the curfew would be, I said, raised to 9 from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So we believe that this would be sufficient time for persons to do whatever they need to do and then get back to their homes. So we would have officers patrolling and checking on vehicles to ensure that they do not break the curfew.
Okay. You mentioned the zoning being discontinued. Can you just give the assurance to the public? I know that Crime Watch is still on. Law enforcement is still very aggressive in that regard. Can you speak more in depth to the checkpoints that will be perhaps at the various locations on island, continuing to ensure that persons are on the highways and byways in good order?
Yes, as I said previously, the checkpoints at the two locations were just to control the vehicles going to and through the various zones to do business. However, we would police, especially since so many other places have opened, police would continue doing their patrols and the checks, and there would be checkpoints at various locations that I cannot say now. So in other words, before we would tell you that at a particular area has a checkpoint, but in police operations we would be having various checkpoints, and that you would only know when you come to that checkpoint.
Understandably so. In addition to these serious crimes, can you speak to other observations made since the lift of the liquor license suspension? That is a question that's coming from Don Nicholas from DBS. And just to let you know, this is a virtual press conference. We are fielding questions from the media via text message. Commissioner?
Yes, actually what we have noticed is that persons, in as much as some areas are open, but they are not adhering to the various protocols they ought to. It's like generally that COVID is gone and we are not adhering to protocol, but this is not the case. COVID is still alive. It is good that the government and including the frontline officers, the nurses, we did our best to ensure that the spread was minimized. However, persons still need to take heed that COVID is still alive and that they could contract COVID. And you find persons sometimes not wearing the mask, although I must say that at certain establishments you would see the hand sanitizers in place, you would see persons wearing you must have a mask to go in, and this is what we are asking for. We need persons to assist the police in enforcing, because if we come to that location and realize that you are not adhering to the protocols, the option of shutting down is open to the police officer. But we do not want to do that. What we want to do is that persons, there are a list of protocols that would have been established by Ministry of Health, that you adhere to the protocols so that we have a safe St. Lucia going down.
Understood. Continuing on with COVID-19, we have a question from Solange Alfred, and it's over the concerns over criminal minds capitalizing on the masks, the concealment of facial features to carry out their illicit activity. Any concerns?
Yes, actually this is a concern and we are getting calls on that. However, if the law regarding the mask is that you should wear it to cover your nose and your mouth, that is the aim. So it is not about your eyes should not be disguised. You should have every other part open. So it's not like using a mask to commit crime, but using a mask to prevent you from contracting viruses or giving viruses to other persons. So this is not a matter of the mask for that are being used to commit criminal offense. I know persons may wish to take advantage of it, but that too, the police officers would, when present, would be looking for these things to ensure that persons are wearing the requisite mask.
Okay. We've been seeing a level of aggression towards police officers during this time. Tensions flaring, curfew heavy on persons during this COVID-19 period. We have a question from Don Nicholas from DBS. Another question: any concerns regarding the recent aggression towards police? They have had reports of an officer sustaining an injury to the head on last Monday. If you could speak to that.
Yes, actually it is of concern because persons, we know that generally St. Lucians ought to be law-abiding citizens. And when persons break the law, we have the police officers who will intervene. And in that incident where the police were carrying out an operation, they would be equipped to deal with everything. And I must say, we also got concerns about human rights and use of force being exhibited by the officers. However, I must say, if you look at the videos, I think I should be the one making the claim of human rights, the breach of human rights, and the physical attack and verbal abuse by to the officers. Because even when you look at the use of force models, it could be whichever model, at the least, it speaks to, at stage one, speaks to the mere presence of an officer. If you are doing something wrong, an officer of the law has come there, forget it, back down, because this is an officer, you respect the officer, you respect the position. You may not respect the individual, but you have to respect the position of that person being a law officer trying to curb a situation. And once that has not been done, and in fact, at the time, we could see it was not done. Actually, it went further, where abuse, verbal abuse to the officers and so on, physical abuse that the officer would not stay there like a doll. So I must say that at that point, I commend, and I have done that, I commended the officers for the job that they did on that day, and we will continue to do it when persons do not behave themselves.
Okay, shifting gears to the union incident, we were made to understand by you that there were police officers, off-duty police officers, that were part of this social gathering. Can you give us an update on that that investigation so far?
Yes, actually, we have had, based on the last update that I had, I think it's about six persons have been arrested. That is the first guy, the Lubin guy. Simon Lubin, he was arrested and charged for some offenses that which involve threats and so on, insulting words. Right. The other persons who have been arrested was just for breaching the curfew, for example, not wearing a mask in the public and so on. So that we have done. We have 6 persons arrested.
Okay.
And yes.
Hot question from the media houses is, did the officers who were present turn themselves in? Which officers were arrested, charged? What happened?
Yes, officers turned themselves in. Some were arrested based on the explanation and the statements that they gave, but others were really pending further investigations.
How many officers were charged?
I think it's 2 officers were charged, have been charged.
2 officers have been charged for the union incident. Okay. Going back to Simon Lubin, can you just speak to us about the rationale for the charges that were leveled against him? That question is coming from Choice TV. The charges were insulting words and 2 counts of threats.
Yes, well, based on what we saw on the video, although sometimes videos are not conclusive, however, we had statements from the officers who responded to that scene and the way and manner in which he behaved, the use of abusive and insulting words. He had to be charged criminally for that. It's not just a matter of breaching the curfew. He committed some offenses. Unlike the officers who were there, I don't think any officer committed any criminal offense per se, but in terms of being present, yes, they were there. They did not have their mask and so on, so they would have been charged for that. But Simon's case and the officer and also other civilians' case were totally different.
Mm-hmm. The operation on Grass Street was quite a spectacle. Can you speak on the outcome of that in connection with the union incident?
Yes, if I could recall, about 6 persons had been charged for various violations at the time of those incidents. So the police will persons who commit breaches, as we said, the intention is to charge you and take you before the court. The court shall deal with you. You may go free, you may be punished. That really the police intention is to ensure that we do what we have to do, is to take you before the court.
Okay, I think a very comprehensive explanation for that union incident and the operation on Grass Street thereafter. I want to shift gears to the baby. If you could speak to us on investigations that have since been launched to find the mother and or father of this newborn that was found in what's the location?
Wapatat.
Wapatat, yes.
Yes, actually, as soon as the information reached police, we launched investigations into the matter. During the course, what was important though is that during the course of investigation, there was a voice note in circulation suggesting that the baby was that of a 15-year-old and the father may have been the brother of the mother in an abusive situation. We launched investigation into the matter, but this, as we said, we cannot confirm this is the fact. Actually, we were directed to a particular home and where they suggest that these persons were living, and it proved that what was being said in the video was not the correct version. So right now I'm asking whoever who made that video to come forward, take us to the house where she was referring to, and so that we could find these persons.
Okay. Can you speak to us about the significance of this whole incident? From beginning to end, we saw the baby in the bag being filmed. We saw later on first responders coming for the baby, and subsequently you have the investigations and so on. Can you speak to, or advise the general public on the way they should handle such matters, because there was much uproar over the way it was handled, persons filming this child who is a minor, you know, if you could speak to that.
Yes, actually, most times this filming, it affects if there's any prosecution and so on. It may, saying that I'm not saying generally it would. However, sometimes it assists in investigations in the matter. But it should not, this video, I think it went viral, and as soon as persons would have seen that, concerned persons, I knew persons who cried over it, seeing that and so on. It becomes sensational. And I must say that persons, they should desist, especially from doing these things. However, what they should have done was to call in medical, call the ambulance, call police, and then we will take it up from there. However, we are happy that the baby was saved and so on, and was taken to OKU without any trouble.
Okay, wonderful. I want to hand over to Carlton meantime.
Merci, Jesse, qu'on nous promet tout, nous décaïni Monsieur Milton Desir, acting police commissioner, et puis nous avons Anne Joseph, acting Corporal, dans studio ensemble, et puis nous, et pour bonne information, quand la coutume, nous avons nous ça vendredi, mais où ça bagaille différent. Quand yo ici à lundi, les 18, Kabano information. En première information, ils savent qui est Yojabanou. Là, ils viennent pour zone, ils savent nous tenir nord et puis sud. Là, où ils trouvent date qui là, ils viennent pour Kanawi. Kanawi tenir à peu près 1899 machines qui traversent là. Et puis l'an dernier, nous tenir 8685. Quand on a une différence dans la vie pour DA. En parmi ça, il y a aussi information nous recevons ici à 13 personnes trouvé quoi yo arrêté pour casser Curfew là et puis en parmi l'autre bagaille. En parmi matière chaque monde peut-être qu'ils savent qui ça qui a passé déjà, qui ça police a fait et puis information qui a venu puis ça. Là il vient pour l'an dernier, tout le monde a parlé de dernier et quand chaque monde a sur social media et qu'il y a ces bagaille là qui moi même qui dit personnellement c'est un problème by police parce que tout le monde est en phone, tout le monde qui a pris portrait, tout le monde qui a vraie information ou pas jamais savent qui ça qui vrai, qui ça qui pas vrai. Et bien là, nous avons une information qui a sorti au département de police qui a dit là, il vient pour incident qui point coup là, dennery. Là où ils savent, là, il vient pour un homme, l'âge de 31 de l'âge, Daniel Joseph. Eh bien, là, il a fait investigation, ça fait la pointe dennery. Officier qui est attaché là, il vient pour station dennery. Il y a un rapport de balles pétées. Et puis, là, les daitoa à peu près 10 minutes pour 10 heures. Jeudi, bagay bo 10 minutes pour 10 heures, le 14 mai. Là, nom nan jouen en balle en tête. Et puis, yo mené l'hôpital, et puis après ça, yo prononcé mort. Là, en post-mortem kamouche, as a result, des dommages pour Sevel, les 18, là, yo conformé, ça c'est manière, il mort. Investigation qui a continué en ça. Là, il vini pour l'autre incident, Chaïdi moun ka parlé dit, ça c'est, là, il vini pour Kay ministre là, Chaïdi moun connaît dit ça. Bagay bo, yon ka pour 3 heures, dimanche, ça c'est jour fête maman le 10 mai ou quand ils savent en quitter aller là pour ces police là et là quand pour information nous ici police qui a dit un homme trouvé qu'il attaqué par des hommes et puis bloc yon dans ces hommes là trouvé un coup de bloc et puis il trouvé qu'il à terre tout dit et là nous a dit yo mené aller l'hôpital condition stable. les ni pour faire puis incident ça ou kay savent Kiran Mafrin pli mais connaître kon pitbull hot Victoria la oui Victoria Denry et puis avec James Elias Parrot hot la oui High Street Denry yo tout des yo porter plainte contre tous les deux yon pour entamer et tuer yon moun et l'autre là pour dommage pour propriété là les vini pour premier nom nan nous parler dia et tout be koy yon c'est nom nan trouvé koy en moun blessé et puis yon coûte là 6,5 li même 10 là avec James plainte contre lui yo porter plainte contre lui pour blessé et puis pour relation pour même incident ça quand les vini pour ces incident ça c'est information nous né investigation qui a continué as a conséquence de ça ou attend qui ça qui mettait en place moi kay parler by commissioner dans moment pour m'aider dit ça dernier pas les vini pour timamay la yo fin yo joindre la bois patate ou kay savent information les ni pour faire puis ça vendredi le 15 mai ou kay savent yon jeune tibay yo joindre là bois patate ici yon jeune anti-mamay qui just fait avec les vini pour information qui police ka ban nou à présent yo ka dit yo te ka acheter comme qui maman et ben papa les yo ou kay savent chay moun te tan les vini pour social media un moun bay information ka dit qui ti maman Isaka wite dans kay puis yon moun qui ka abusé et ben là nous ka attend les vini pour information mais les 16 nous ka une information là département police qui responsable pour moun qui plus vulnérable parmi nous c'est moun ça yo conducté interview yo et ben yo parler ba yon jeune femme 16 l'année de l'âge là venu pour allégation et puis là yo vient dit ti mama ça c'est li qui seulement ish parent mais en investigation yo là venu pour un deuxième en dans kaisa moun ça qui parlait dit là ni yon moun qui enceinte mais moun sa 21 l'année de l'âge quand ça yo ça conformé c'est moun sa y enceinte mais 21 l'année de l'âge quand ça yo ka dit according pour information ni hot police information ça qui ka situé par vrai et pas ni pièce évidence pour montrer ça quand trouver corps informé en parmi l'autre bagaille qu'on bien savent nous ka ba information là ni pour faire tout ça qui fait entre semaine nous ka parler et puis temps qui passé ou ka changer yon incident c'est la Union le 6 mai là t'es un incident police et puis yon d'autres moun en Union et c'est yon qui était situé aussi à sous média social ou ka vle savent après investigation incident ça yon homme identifié comme Simon Lubin Ward Leslie Land trouvé koy porter plainte contre pour ka dérespecter police et puis en les décon les vini pour ka casser violation de curfew parmi l'autre bagaille aussi il trouvé koy plainte contre pour entamer à sous 8 entamer à sous yon police la teni 5 les autres monde qui trouvé kon yo porter plainte kon yo là vini pour violation curfew quoi là là vini pour information ça nous a bay public là moi gay toujours vle demander là vini pour yon qui ça police ja fait là vini pour incident dernier qui ça qui a mis en place et dit nous qui ça police ka kachile là vini pour ça pour n'importe ça qui jamais été en place comme je n'ai dit.
Oui, ça nous a fait comme deux, nous avons été ces mouna qui étaient involvés en cas là, nous avons été ça nous a fait aussi comme moi mis un team nom SSU pour établir en dennerie, so SSU pas ni pour sortir Castru et Bevier fort pour descendre dennerie si rien fait, so moi ni un team là et puis ça yo ka fait yo ka patrol yo ka passer les chimères yo ka garde daitoa yo ka acheter moi want yo ka search kay moun yo quoi qui peni bagay qui illégal et puis bagay kon so nous ka di nous police active en dennerie mais ça moi ka ici mieux c'est si ces gens dennerie
ni information
ce qui ni information pour bailler moi ça nous ka joindre mais ça moi te kay simye c'est moun gendarmerie yo kay vini ensemble et puis pour yo dou bout ça qui ka aller ay kay meilleur pour yo so il pas ka faire sens pour ou blesser yon moun ou arrêter ou blesser yon en l'autre il a arrêté so ça kay continuer comme so ça nous kay dit ça qui j'ai arrêté a bien arrêté mais si moun ça vini ensemble et puis si l'année moun qui ça l'année moun communauté a qui ça mener yo ensemble parler ba yo ni nous savons pas ça dit ni un grand meeting parce que nous still ni pour faire social distances mais l'année manière où ça joindre et puis c'est moun ça parler ba yo pour yo find out qui ça qui problème là parce que l'année a problème. Oui, si la pas c'est pour ça bagay la ka continuer so là si poser ni un problème so sinon ça bout problème ça là nous police kay involvé pour ça nous ka des community policing sinon ça ouais qui ça qui cause c'est ba ça qu'a fait là et puis pour nous ça mettre la main ça kay
bien bon. Moi ça vous parler de au commander commune vinn ensemble avec si moun ni information et puis si moun ça copan c'est faut yo coponter ko yo et ça kay primaire là vini pour en l'autre matière nous ka parler jodi à lundi toute zone yo ouvert ces zone qui veut dire moun qui en sud lan kay commencer monter descendre avec moun qui en nord lan kay commencer monter descendre parler de ça.
Oui, zone nan ouvert et puis moun kay naviguer kon yo vle moun qui ni commission pour faire casser ça vieux fort yo kay aller mais nous ka still di sou si la ni bagay la ou kay vle ou sou en vieux fort penny ba la il camé pour acheter vieux fort pour rester so nous kay ni moins machine ka naviguer ka monter descendre et puis ça aide nous pour contrôler virus là. So, même si nos zones ouvertes ça pas mean virus aller donc nous pas ouvert zone pour virus c'est virus là still là nous still ni pour service et protocole là still ou ni pour mettre masque là ou ka là en public et puis sous pas ni masque là police ça ou tout c'est pour ça oui sous juste pas ni masque là il ça c'est yon $1,000 et ben 6 mois l'argent et ben tous les deux yo ça ba tous les deux so moun moi ka di point précaution et puis faire ça loi dit ou supposé faire ça senti isop nous mais c'est pas yon isop pour nous misbehave pour nous faire bail qui pas bon chebe corde bien et puis bail police moins 3 cas so nous ka ça deal et puis bail qui pli go là ou qui veut des machines police aller pour moun qui en côté just yo pas ni masse yo en côté yo pas supposé ça c'est pour ça une l'autre bagaille pour faire parce que l'année assez toi pour police faire so ça nous ça avoid c'est bail ça qui a fait cause dans les causes police répondre pour toute petite bêtise comme ça. Oui.
Là il vini à présent nous t'en vini depuis jeudi à le 18 mai lundi nous t'en curfew à présent c'est pas 7h il a commencé 9h pour 5h matin parlant titaka sous ça parce que moi ka quoi en chay moun même qu'on bien dire moun ka compagnie dit comme si dit oui bagay vie normal là comme si dit oui parlant titaka laisse aller vini pour curfew
comme regardez you have mettez curfew pour 9h à présent nous ka quoi les 9h moun jakay rive kayo ou pas kay en chimé ka aller kayo les 9h aussi posé en dedans do bay des temps ça là pour faire ça so kay fait business ou faire ça pour faire yo ça pli travail à ouvert so les moun qui te travail yo kay ive kayo pour 9h so 9h police ka check yo pas nous pas kay vle ouais machine les chimères
quand ça on dire ça pas veut dire parce que nous t'en c'était pour 9h qui ka bay moun pli temps ça on dire as a résultat de ça moun supposé ni pli temps après on va une pièce raison pour dehors les 9h parce que c'était on te garde pas assez après on dans l'autre 7 8 9h dernier temps quand on pas excuse qu'on a dit police kay là pour faire assurer moun check avec moun suivre protocole là
oui
L'autre bagay là moi kay à vous toucher un petit takassou lancer lay vini pour moi tan Jessine comme moun kay bien savent en chay question vini des moun média ka mandé question yon nan se bagay lancer lay vini pour masse là chay moun te concerné des masse là et puis manière moun ka servi masse là pour activité criminelle.
Oui, comme nous dit l'on est en masque pour ça y dit pour disguise quoi pour moun pas ouais qui moun ouye ça c'est une offense en loi. So pour Covid ça doit être fait il doit mettre un masque mais un masque qui couvert néon et puis bouchou. Oui, et ça c'est pour externer pour ek bagay comme ça. So sou ni un masque qui moun yo pas ça ouais fija yo pièce ça dangereux et puis police ça point des marches à sous ça ça faut aussi c'est si il trop faut savent côté il supposé zio supposé ou supposé ni si ou supposé visible oui so nous ka appel pour moun qui ka mettre masque là mettre servir bien nous ka dit oui ou supposé ni mais même là ou supposé servir manière ou supposé servir là so ou pas ka des guys ko l'autre moun qui ka marcher bon ka feel confortable c'est ou pas yon moun qui ni en masque pour ou faire un coup mec pour yo pas recognize oui.
Et puis dernièrement l'œil vini pour tout ça qui a fait là parce que nous ça va présent la main police plein a pas dit ou ni pour faire nous ka di police pas jamais fini faire travail avec investigation yo mais à présent hot ni Covid et puis toute situation nous ka di qui dernier parole ou ka ni bay membre public là pour bayo gide pour bayo conseil qui dernier parole ou ka vle di membre public là citoyen St.Lucia.
Oui ça moi ka vle di membre public classe yo ni pour coopérer et puis yon a l'autre c'est premier oui sous coopérer et puis yon a l'autre ou comprendre bagay ou ni anti chicane pas quitter aller trop loin juste attend une il en barbier den yon pousser l'autre en gourmet en coup là en gon évoluer so nous ka di ou ni pour faire ça et si ou ni pièce problème tout couiller police kouya sous police communauté ou côté police là sous pas satisfait puis réponse et bien ça ou manière yo manager là toute police ni toute station ni un monde qui en chargé sous style pas comprendre contre manière fait ou ça monter couiller office commissioner so nous kay ça nous kay si mieux faire ça parce que moun juste point loi la main yo et puis commencer yon blessé yon a l'autre set ka venir et puis blessé ça pas kay chose mais still pour ça moi ka dit nous kay continuer faire travail nous savons nous ni en chay travail pour faire et puis nous ka dit pour aider nous encore la ni ti simple bagay moun ça correct pas koyo l'année mon société ou passer ouais des garçons ka babier ou ça vous ça juste dire fini et puis ça avant il venir plus chose vous même ou ça couiller en police ou en bail ka fait qui peut venir plus grave so tout ces bail ça ka aider nous parce que police pas ça tout partout et puis c'est gros bagay là den nous savons nous ni pour là but la ni ti bagay on pour moun ça corriger pas quoi yo.
OK. Eh ben là on est messieurs dames nous ka parler bay nan qui position police commissioner Milton Desir et quand parmi bagay ka di yon nan se bagay là moi même quoi qui bien important ka di pas dit temps nous ni yon Curfew tout le monde savent qui ça qui Curfew a il ka mando souple messieurs dames si nous ça commencer puis yon a l'autre si nous ça copan si moun ça copan zoé pas ka hopé tête si on anti chicane avant il va plus loin pour yo mener police tout boutli et yon nan se pli il fait qui plus important moi même content aussi ou qui en commune ou qui moun ka ve comme exemple si ou ka passer ouais pièce désagrément et ka mando souple tout boutli séparer ces moun nan fait yo ouais ça pas nécessaire et ça qui plus important changer nous dans situation état di secours côté nous ka di moun pas de temps police ni pour venir pour demander un moun mette yo en masse et ben chan distance là la peut-être nan côté yo brisé en kaika brûlé là nan côté en kaika cassé là nan côté un bagay qui plus sérieux qu'a fait qu'on a plié à sorti souple mais c'est oreilles pas ka hopper tête tous les semaines nous ici avec nous demander qui ça qui a fait nous tente ici dans Denry nous tente Timamailan et là encore nous tente rapport haute police qui ça qui dommage qui a pour monde qui cassé avec monde qui commettait c'est offense ça et pas du temps laisse ça va changer aussi en chay monde peut-être te ouais à sur social media bagay grass street côté moun de ka dérespecter police moun de ka comporter koyo dans manière qui pas bon ou kay savent 6 personnes trouvé koyo arrêté et kay ni pour venir devant un juge là quoi messieurs dames il bien clair nous dans état de soukou nous ka dit corona nous poko une pièce de raison pour lui il poko nous poko nan remède et manière ya police là jahani assez à sous compte yo et puis yo ka fait et puis ça yo nian quoi bagay là c'est ça si ou ça commencer puis quoi seul moun ça conduit c'est quoi et sous ça aider empêcher là nous a dit bagay kay plimer parce que nous tout en dedans ensemble et ben Jesse navier passé ba.
Thank you very much for that, Carlton. So there you have it, 13 arrested in the past week for curfew violations, 6 of which are from the Union Social Gathering. This includes 2 off-duty police officers who turned themselves in. Also of note, a surge in serious crimes in the last week, especially concentrated in the Dennery area. We see that 2 individuals were arrested and charged for non-capital attempted murder in the gruesome brick attack incident at the residence of the government minister, Honorable Edmund Estefan. Also, investigations continue in identifying the abandoned baby's parents. Any reports to the contrary suggesting that the mother or father have been identified so far are false. The police have just indicated that the investigations in tracking down the parents, at least the mother of that abandoned baby, does continue. Commissioner, if you could just speak to illegal border entry, any updates with regard to that? I know the country will be opening and there will be stringent border operations at the ports and so on. But as of now, can you give us an update on any reports of illegal border entry?
Yes, we have had reports. I think on the last occasion that we reported 2 persons were arrested, and what's important to note also is that on the last occasion, persons arrested were taken into quarantine because you do not know whatever they are coming in with. So they had to be checked by medical. They had to clear quarantine. And after they have cleared quarantine, they would be taken in for questioning so as to identify who brought them in, who are other persons that may have involved. And I believe it was on Friday that we had 1 individual who came in, and then investigations, there's with the assisting with investigation as to locating persons and other persons and so on.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. The country will be opening. We're into the last fortnight of phase 3. We're going into phase 4, the recovery phase, and law enforcement efforts still continue.
Yes, yes. We at whatever phase it is, law enforcement is there. We are doing what we ought to do, and that is why we're saying don't give the police unnecessary work. Actually, we are paid to do it, but let us do it meaningfully. Yeah, there are things that persons can do, just asking somebody to wear a mask, stand at least 6 feet apart. These things that I don't think that is too difficult for persons to take responsibility for doing.
Okay. And finally, we saw the SI speaking on the drought being declared. Can you speak to any efforts to ensure that the prohibition is enforced?
Yes. Actually, as I said, we enforce everything. Every law that is there, we enforce. We try to do everything, and not forgetting we're in June. We are coming into June, which would be the hurricane season. So we have to prepare also for that.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time, Commissioner. Acting Commissioner Milton Desir and Acting Corporal and Joseph sitting in with us today for the virtual press conference. We thank you so much for watching, getting the updates as they happen, and the updates up for the last week for under the curfew for COVID-19. My name is Jessie Leon, signing off on behalf of Carlton Cyril. Do enjoy the remainder of your day and stay tuned for more NTN programming. Goodbye.